Welcome, everyone. I hope you've been having a remarkable time at the first day of the Language Summit. I've been having a blast. Getting to know you better, joining sessions and learning from experts in their field, teachers, curriculum experts, EdTech leaders. I have found this really insightful and really fun. We have an amazing panel for you next, and I can't wait for you to hear their story. They have an amazing story to tell about how they built a partnership between an edtech company, a distribution company, a government organization, Ministry of Education, and even a teacher and a preschool. So how does that all come together? How does it work? We're all looking for solutions during this difficult, time. We want to find the best solutions, the best partnerships, because we can't do everything on our own. If we want to do things really, really well and be the best, we need to partner. So how do we find the right partners? You should be able to find answers to these questions and more during this panel. So without further ado, I would love to introduce our amazing panelists and get started right away. If you want to wave when I introduce you, everybody will be able to see who you are, and you'll be able to read their bios if you click on their pictures down below. So first we have Josue Montero. He is the CEO of EduTech in Central America. Josue, thank you so much for joining us. You are an incredible leader, and you make a lot of great connections with a lot of great companies. So with connecting the right ed tech to the right people. So I feel like you could be the poster child, or not the poster child, the model, the cover model for the Language Summit in some ways. Manolo Manuel Rojas Mata. Manolo, thank you so much. Manolo is the national coordinator for the Alliance for Bilingualism in the Ministry of Education in Costa Rica. He has made a huge difference being a leader in his country to help push a huge initiative to help students get better English EFL education. And then we have Noah Iyer, CEO at Alegra Learning. Noah also has an extensive history in entrepreneurship, language learning, edtech. He's just amazing, an amazing leader. All of these people are also super kind, just really, really good people. So thank you so much for joining us as well, Noah. And then finally, last but not least, we have Carol Villalobos. She is a preschool teacher at the Ministry of Education in Costa Rica, and she has an amazing story to share as well. So please share your comments in the chat. Ask your questions in the second icon on the right, and we'll try and check those questions and answer or ask our panelists those questions if possible. If we have time, we'll check those every so often. And our panelists, if you see an interesting question you want to answer from our audience as well, please feel free to chime in. We want to mostly hear your story and figure out how we can create as amazing partnerships as you have formed ourselves. And then we'll go until 1:35, and then we'll move on to our closing keynote presentation for the day. So first question that I have for you is maybe if you want to talk, I guess for Manolo, how did the Ministry of Education, or how did not the Ministry of Education, but the national, the Alliance for Bilingualism get started, and why was it created?
Well, thank you very much for having me today here. I'm honored to be part of this panel. Costa Rica has made important efforts in order to become a bilingual country. However, those efforts have been, let's say, a little bit isolated. Alliance for Bilingualism has bring together all the protagonists of the main government in order to pursue a common goal, which is provide our students with a second language. So, in other words, what we're doing here with this alliance is to have everyone on the same page and with a unique purpose, becoming bilingual.
That's wonderful. No, I mean, it's amazing what you've done and what your vision and your mission to help students have better opportunities by learning English. I feel like that's been a theme that I've heard today in some other sessions as well. That's wonderful. And then maybe if the rest of you each want to share kind of how your organizations got started. Like Josue, why did you start EduTech? And Noah, why did you start Alegra Learning?
Thank you, Ashley. So 12 years ago, about 12 years ago, I started in the EdTech industry, working for a company. And after 3 to 4 years, they left my country. They left Costa Rica, and I asked them for the authorization to start to distribute their products, and because we've seen the impact of technology in education, right? And after these 4 years, well, now it's been almost 9 years now that we've been in the industry as EduTech and helping schools. Now we work with 9 countries in Latin America, helping them use this amazing tools to be able to enhance the learning curve of the students. And seeing a kid using the technology and producing and making an impact in their lives, it pays off. It pays off everything that comes with it. And that's the reason why we're doing what we're doing right now.
Yeah, and thank you, Josue. I would say, to answer your question, Ashley, we started Alegra Learning and created Joy School English because along some of those same lines, we believe in the power and beauty and potential of people. We are deeply moved and inspired by, especially in our case, by children. We focus a lot on helping them develop potential. But there's something really powerful and special about meeting a child anywhere in the world and just seeing the hope and the potential in their eyes and in their heart. And that's a big motivating factor for us in creating what we've created. And we believe that technology and partnership are what can unlock that potential. We want to be a catalyst to the great future. You know, these kids have a future of great grandeur that we can be a part of helping facilitate and be a catalyst in that work. And Manolo, and you've heard from him a little, is a government leader who has a big heart and who wants to see that potential and open those opportunities for the children of Costa Rica. And you heard in Josue's answer how he wants to make an impact and why he got into that. And then we have Carol here, who's the real rubber meets the road, the person on the ground right there with these beautiful children, helping them make a difference. And so, that's why we created Joy School English, and this panel is about partnership, and really through connecting with each other is how the only way we can realize these things.
That's wonderful. No, I love that, Noah. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think what impresses me most about each of you is your intentions are so good. And you just see they're so altruistic. And I think that's what's special about this industry is, educators, we tend to we just want to help the students. And I love how you have especially a focus on children and helping children, because I mean, they are our future. And, to invest in in our future, we need to invest in our children and their education. So I think it's amazing what you're doing. I would love to hear more about how did your partnership come about? How did you meet, and why did you partner with the Ministry of Education and Alegra Learning? How did you meet and why did you partner?
So I'd like maybe to add a little bit into that, Ashley. So we've been working with Alegra Learning since they started, about I think 2 to 3 years ago, and we've been working with other companies outside in the EdTech industry, and there are a ton that are doing language acquisition training. Let's put it that way in with technology. But if you start to narrow down some things, very important things, you're going to see why. So if you take all of these companies and then you focus on those that focus on kids, whoop, it narrows. Then you take on those that focus on EFL and not ESL, because ESL is great for kids that are learning English in their own in the US, for example, or um, English country. But then if you're learning English outside of the US, then it's further the amount of companies that are doing that. If you take into consideration using AI, artificial intelligence, to be able to enhance that, it narrows. And then if you take into consideration that it can work offline, that it's not only online, but it can work in countries where there's no internet. And if you take in consideration the personalization, and the graphics, the kids involved, boom, boom, boom. We get one, and it's called Joy School, and it belongs to Alegra Learning, and that's so. When we've seen this, I came to Manolo and I said, Manolo, listen, I want you to see something. Manolo knows we know each other from around 10 years ago, and I said, this is something that you haven't seen outside, and it's amazing the impact and what it's doing in the life of kids. We've been working with private schools, but we haven't had the opportunity to work with public schools. So when COVID came, it was the perfect time to help these kids that are outside, that were alone at home. It was a new thing, learning online. Everybody was like, okay, so how do we do it now? Right? And that's when Joy School came into the map and really gave the Ministry of Education a tool to help them in their process.
That's amazing. No, and that's props to Alegra Learning and Joy School English for being that one company that all their requirements that just blew. Josue, I am not saying your name right. I should just call you Joshua. For those who don't know, I've extensively studied French, Japanese, Spanish. Spanish is on my list. But go ahead, Noah.
Sorry, Ashley, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to say we happen to meet some of those requirements, but I'd like to know from Manolo kind of where your perspective, from what you're trying to accomplish, and kind of how we got to meet each other.
Sure. Well, besides what Josue already mentioned, there are important aspects that I would like to add. And one of them is that in order to acquire a second language, you need to have interest and meaningful input. And I think that this app has these two requirements. It is very interesting for students because they want to play, they want to continue more and more, and that's amazing, because if you are interested, then you can be sure that you're learning. And the other thing is that our students are being exposed to native speakers, to great games and strategies to learn. Everything they're doing when they're playing, they're learning, and that's really important. So in that sense, I think that Joy School it's very convenient and it's perfect for learning a second language.
No, thank you so much. And I think what we are probably all waiting to hear from, or more waiting to hear from, is Carol. Carol is really your perspective is one of the most important because you had to work with, you had to figure out, the Ministry of Education came to you, and maybe you can share this, like what your experience was. A lot of teachers this past year have really struggled with online, moving to online learning and moving to using more technology. Were you hesitant? Were you scared? Did you not want to start the technology? What was your experience like? What was it? What do you think of Joy School English? What has your experience been?
Well, everything began last year around June, July. With the COVID, we were expecting some help from the Ministry of Education, and they came with this great application. They gave us a training on how to use it, and I was very excited. So I wanted to use it myself first. While playing, I realized that most of the games involved listening and speaking opportunities. Some other games focus on phonemic awareness and literacy skills and even values. So I decided to begin working with my students. We made small groups to help parents with the process, and I asked them to play 15 to 20 minutes daily because that's the time recommended by the app. They were supposed to play Monday through Friday. Shortly after using this app, I noticed how well the students could pronounce and understand the vocabulary and phrases presented in the app. So in order to keep the families and the students motivated, I started tracking their progress and sending home a monthly report. Obviously, all this information is displayed in the platform, along with certificates and plenty of teacher resources. By the end of the year, we had spent up to 5 months working with Joy School. And I could say that some of the qualities I like the most are the fact that the students can work offline, that they can make progress and learn at their own pace. And all of this happens while they play. They play. That's all they do. They play and have fun. And finally, something I would like to continue with is the use of this application because it makes my life easier as a teacher. And it has plenty of resources. I thought it would be helpful, but it exceeded my expectations. So it was an awesome tool, basically.
Wow. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that, Carol. And I think that's a refreshing experience. What I read about in the news and what I hear from teachers, a lot of the time is like, oh, the product was terrible, or I can't stand another Zoom call. And to find a product that exceeds your expectations and that makes your job easier as a teacher, Joy School English has easier reports. It's easier to, it's really easy to use. And you see the outcomes in your students. Like they can pronounce better. They can, it's not just, fun, a fun application, but it actually improves their learning outcomes. I think those are the kind of products that we all want to integrate into our classrooms. And I mean, I think it's even better that it's, that the students can use it offline. That they don't have to be online.
Actually,
yes, go ahead.
I'd like to add something very important, and Carol just said it. It's interesting. A lot of times, for example, back when I was in school, teaching me English was first grammar, then know how to read, and at the last thing, speak. Right? And it's not the natural way that we learn a language. My 3-year-old kid could speak perfectly Spanish and had no clue how to read things, right? And that's what I love about Joy School specifically, that it's the focus in producing, and it's not just It's not just something that, okay, I know how to read, I know how to. No, it's produce. Like Manolo can actually elaborate into this, but in countries like ours, if a person speaks English, if he speaks, it doesn't matter if you read it or or you know all the vocabulary, etc. That's not important. If you speak English, you'll get a job that will twice or triple the income that you could have without having English as a speaking language. So the fact that it's so engaged into the student, into the younger kids, to produce and helps them and with their artificial intelligence, which I love about that makes them speak. It's just priceless.
Alegra Learning is priceless. Joy School English is priceless. That's awesome. Well, then what? I mean, obviously you did pay a price for it, but what are the advantages from forming a partnership where you found a product that you really liked that you wanted to distribute at scale? What, and maybe Manolo, you can talk to this first, but why choose one product, and like what gave you the confidence to form this partnership?
Well, when you are trying to find for solutions to a situation, and you look at our context in Costa Rica, where we don't have connectivity in all the schools, then we need to think about it. And when I talked to Josue, and he mentioned that this application does not require in internet, so that was a key point, because in our rural area there are many students that don't have the possibility to have an English teacher or English classes. So that said, it is very important to have an application that can get to those places and can provide the students with input that is comprehensible, input that really promotes the acquisition of the second language, because of the diversity of opportunities for learning, listening, reading, speaking, recording their voices. I mean, all of these advantages that this application has are great for our country, and also it is aligned to our curriculum, and that's very important, because before using it, we assessed the application and we saw the connections with our program, and that's really important for us, because our program is aligned to the CFR, to the Common European Framework of Reference, and that's a very important point for us.
Thank you. No, thank you so much for sharing that. I have a couple more questions I want to ask, but do you have questions that you want to ask each other, or do you have thoughts that you're dying to share? Oh, Noah, I think you're muted.
That had to happen at least once, right? For every virtual call. So I just had one thought that I wanted to share, and that's, as we talk about partnership, I think we talked at the beginning about like partnering with people that want to make a difference in the same cause, and I think that's really powerful. I also think it's important to acknowledge that in any partnership, we need each other. Like, we have no way that we can serve tens of thousands of kids in Costa Rica without the help of Manolo and Carol and Josue. The partnership becomes essential in order to make a difference. And I just, that principle of partnership, I think it's good for all of us to realize, like, we can't do things on our own. We need people. We need each other. And I think that's what really forms great partnerships, is this aligned vision, and then the recognition that we need each other. I love Costa Rica. I love the people of Costa Rica, but I know that I will never really know Costa Rica like Manolo does, or Carol, or Josue. And so I know that we can trust them. We can really look to them to learn from them and trust them.
I think that humility really important, but it's rare. I feel like the entrepreneurs that succeed have that, and are willing to learn and listen. And I think that's a wonderful example. And I think, I mean, obviously you have an incredible product that your product was chosen out of, however many dozens or hundreds, I don't know how many, but the only way we can get, and we'll be talking more about this in a couple panels on Friday actually, but the only way that we can improve the experience for our students and improve, not only the curriculum, but the products to help deliver that and help the students learn even outside of class, and maybe learn when an English teacher is not available, or maybe somebody who's because of COVID or for whatever other reason. It's important to have feedback from the customer or from the student or the client, the teachers, and to share that openly and collaborate, to continue to build and improve what we already have. So I love that humility, and I appreciate that a lot, and I hope I think everybody who's come to the Language Summit already shows a little bit of that, humility and coming and wanting to share and listen and learn from each other. And that's the whole point of why we created the Language Summit, is because we know we can't, create the best products or the best culture or the best industry without each other. So thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate that. Any other thoughts?
I just wanted to add that at the end of all this, like, we can do a whole bunch of things, implementations, nationwide, district-wide, etc. But at the end, it's important. It's the student, and if they don't succeed, if they don't achieve, if they don't, if we can't see the results, we just wasted time, money, and resources and everything, right? And Carol, I'm sure you can see that from a class. It's the fact of watching them perform. Listen to a student that speaks perfect, like no accent. And you're like, where in the heaven this kid is coming from, right? And it's just one of those experiences that pays off everything, all of the long hours, all of the the suffering, etc., etc., etc. That's what pays off. And I just wanted to thank Noah and Alegra Learning, and of course Manolo and Carol for doing that, because at the end, that's what we're doing. We're impacting the lives of the kids and of the children of the world.
Yeah, I totally agree with Josue. Our main purpose here is to benefit our students. And the Superior Board of Education of Costa Rica just approved a national policy for promoting languages in our country. And our goal is that when they finish high school, they will get a very advanced level of English or French or any other of the languages that we facilitate to the students, so that they can have more opportunities. And we know that if our students have more opportunities, also the country will be benefit with that. And I know that the students with Joy School are happy. And if they're happy, we're happy too.
Amazing. Thank you so much. We actually have a question from the audience that I would like to ask. Darren Hill says this program is awesome. Any lessons you have to share about how the Ministry of Education funded this program?
Yes. Right now, we are in a process of assessment of the application with the University of Costa Rica. We want to see the impact. And once we have the results, we are trying to find the resources in order to continue providing this application for all of our students. That said, we have a lot of people interested in helping our students to become bilingual. So there are enterprises and companies that we are talking about this experience, and we are sure that once we have the assessment, uh, including the World Bank, we have an initiative with the World Bank in order to promote the use of platforms to learn a second language in Costa Rica. So we are trying to develop this program, and we want to keep it for many years in the future so that the next generations will be able to use this kind of applications that really contribute in the process of learning.
That's no, I think that's amazing, and that you are doing research to make sure that you're having the outcomes, the desired outcomes. It's not just choosing a product and trusting that it's the right one, but you want to make sure that the outcomes are the right ones. No,
yes, actually, something that I want to recognize here is that during the pandemic, when our students were home, and Josue and Noah came to talk to me, we saw an opportunity, to get to those kids that were at home without having any opportunity to learn the language, and they really opened the door to provide this application for free to our students, and that's really great to mention here because we can see that the values that the application has is because their creators also have a great heart in order to help our kids. So I think this is very important to say, and I want to thank Josue and I want to thank Noah for being part of this need that we had during the pandemic.
We learned a lot. We've learned a lot with you, Manolo and Carol, and we're going to learn a lot more. We've got a lot of good work to do, and I'm just sitting here thinking again how grateful we are to partner, and also that language. This whole thing is a language summit, and language is emotional. Language is it's a deep part of everybody's soul. I mean, it's the way we connect. It's the way we communicate, and we feel grateful to build partnerships through language, to open opportunities through language, to communicate values. We teach about kindness and courage in our product as well, about these values that communicate important parts of life. And I just, I think being able to connect on those levels, both on how language connects us and then how just good people with big hearts, as we've said a couple times on this. It's thrilling to be able to partner with people that you feel care deeply about the same things as you do, and that's one of the aspects I think that makes good partnerships.
Thank you so much for sharing, and I think I'm excited to keep up with you guys and hear how it continues to go. And use it. You're off to an amazing start. And if any last words, I mean, maybe Carol, as a teacher, we could hear from you one more time. Any final words of advice you would give to teachers? I mean, we've heard a lot about the partnerships, about how to choose, how to best approach accepting or adopting new technology, or even how to be a leader in their schools or their communities when maybe their administrators are, or their governments are not taking the initiative to integrate really important and needed products like this one?
Well, I would say it's really important to take advantage of this kind of application or tools that are available. Do some research and try to see what works for you and your kids. Make an effort to go beyond to go the extra mile and try to find out ways to approach and to make your kids enjoy and learn through different experiences, such as this case.
Beautiful. I love that. Our teachers can definitely be the leaders. If if they and the teachers that are here at the Language Summit, I think, are already showing that leadership quality, taking the initiative and saying, hey, we want to find solutions where we can integrate, we want to improve our student learning outcomes through technical solutions as well as human. So that's beautiful. Well, thank you all so much. I wish we had more time, but it has been super valuable, and I hope our audience has learned a lot. And that, maybe if they have interest in what you're doing and want to learn more, maybe they can reach out to you and message you personally after this event is over. But thank you. I want to thank each of you so much for your time and for making this possible.
We want to thank you too, Ashley. Thanks so much. Sorry I interrupted you a little earlier, but anyway, we just appreciate you did such a great job facilitating this. And Carol, again, thanks to you. We all send our kids to be with the teacher for a big part of the day, and we're as parents. As a parent, I just want to thank you for being there with the kids.
My pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.